Hello, I'm Michael Amar, and maybe you can imagine the excitement I feel at having the opportunity to meet a man whose status is near legendary. But there's always the fear when one meets such a person that one's expectations might not be fulfilled. I'm happy to say they were met and exceeded. He is for real. And I'm happy for all of us because now we can witness with our own eyes the magic and the man, Alex Elmsley.
Right, I'm going to show you a trick using aces. And we've got ace of spades, ace of diamonds, ace of clubs, and ace of hearts. The order, in fact, doesn't matter. It's just as it comes. Right. Now, I'm going to ask you to choose one of these aces. You can choose any one you like. Just touch the one you want.
This one.
Right. Separate them a bit. You can change your mind if you want. We can be here as long as he likes. Right. Now, I'm going to put 3 other cards on that, just at random. So 1, 2, 3. Any idea which ace this was? If so, your memory is probably better than mine. Ace of hearts. Would you hold out your hand like that, please? We'll put the ace of hearts on your hand, and also these other cards. Right. Now, for reasons best known to yourself, you rejected that ace. And it goes. You rejected this one. And it goes. You rejected this one. And it goes. In fact, there are no aces left. Now, 4 cards have vanished from this deck. He's got 4 cards. Do you think something might be going on?
Possible.
The aces might fly. Would you let us see your cards? Right, now I'm going to start this explanation from scratch, assuming that you haven't beforehand taken the aces out of the pack. But you have checked that the aces are not in the bottom few cards. So you talk in order to introduce the trick, and you mark off the bottom 4 cards and keep a break. And now you reverse those by turning the rest of the pack over on top. The way I do it is covering the whole of the pack with my front fingers, moving the pack to the left and turning them in that direction. You see? And now we've got those cards reversed. Now you can go through and throw out the aces. You can talk about the order of the aces not mattering, which is true, they don't matter. But you place them back on the face of the pack over the 4 reversed cards, spread them again, take 2 each hand, and then bring them together. I've got a break underneath the 4 other reversed cards, remember, and just turn over, push off 4 together. I like to bring them forward like that, and you've switched 4 cards. And the way I like to do this is to make a nothing of it by talking about the fact that I want the spectator to choose the ace. And I start talking about that before I've started turning the aces over. So I'm laying the aces down as a continuation of my explanation that I want an ace chosen. And he then just chooses an ace. And it doesn't matter because not one of them is an ace. We've got 4 indifferent cards here, in fact. Let us suppose he chooses this one. You give the impression of taking out 3 cards at random, and there are lots of ways in which you can do this. I like to do an overhand shuffle and take out 1. If I've got the time and the energy, I'll go on and do 2 more overhand shuffles, but today I'll feel lazy. I'll just take out a couple more from where I am. But 3 don't matter cards have been shoved on top. And I get a little break. 1 card under. pick up these cards. The spectator is as confused as you are over which ace this is supposed to be. You pick these up, and as you ask him if he knows which ace it is, you square up and you add the card above the break, which is one of the aces, at the bottom of the packet. Whatever he says, you show the ace. You ask him to put out his hand, you put that ace in his hand. Indifferent card shows up. True position, 3 aces and the indifferent card, so don't show that. Flip over, push off 3, add those to his hands. Trick over, from now on it's just acting. However you like, pretend to make the aces vanish. 1, 2, 3, and there are no aces left in the pack. So if 4 cards are missing from the pack, and he has 4 cards between his hands, you ask him to admit his guilt, and he has the aces. Here's a strange trick with the aces. Actually, I'd like 2 cards chosen here. Will you say stop any time?
Stop.
And remember that card, and other people can see the card. And will you like to say stop somewhere?
Stop.
Right. Other people can see that card. Okay. Now, don't forget your cards, or the whole point of the experiment will be lost. Now, these aces have very peculiar powers, but if I rub them on my left sleeve, that gives them a negative charge, which will cause them to repel other cards. And in particular, if I rub them at the bottom of the pack, they should repel your chosen card to the top. Well, we can stop and see. What was your card?
The 4 of hearts.
The 4 of hearts it is. Not only that, but I'll make it repel it again. Put the 4 of hearts among the aces. There it is. It's still there. You can see it. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. But I give the cards a bit more freedom of movement. Nothing left but 1, 2, 3, 4 aces. 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. You chose a card as well.
Yes.
We'll see if we can repel your card. What was your card?
6 of diamonds.
6 of diamonds. And yes, the 6 of diamonds has come up. Again, we'll see if the repulsive aces can do it twice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards, but if we give them more freedom of movement, just 1, 2, 3, 4 aces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, 2 cards have vanished, and I don't want to be 2 cards short in the pack. We want to get them back somehow. So I'm going to cut the pack. Or better, would you like to cut the pack into 4 about equal packets? And will you put the 4 aces face up on the tops of those packets? Any ace on any packet. Right? Right. You had a free choice. I'm just reassembling the packets. If I rub the cards on my right arm, that reverses the charge. Instead of negative, it's a positive charge. It'll attract the vanished cards back. And it'll also attract the aces to each other. So now, here we've got 2 of the aces attracted to each other, and your card was?
4 of hearts.
The 4 of hearts. And these 2 aces are attracted. And what was your card?
6 of diamonds.
The 6 of diamonds. Right. This, in fact, is not a difficult trick. You got the aces. Apart from getting the aces ready, there is no other preparation. You have 2 cards peaked. The way I work it, I ask somebody to say stop, As I'm turning the cards around and then coming back to the original, I let one go and take a break above the peaked card. Keep the break. Second card peaked. The first one was in the bottom part of the pack. The second time I riffle through the top part of the pack, somebody says stop, and I take the break there. 2 breaks. I keep the upper break with my right thumb while cutting at the lower break. Put the bottom part above and then slip the middle lot out and put them at the bottom. That brings first card, 1 card to the top, 1 card to the bottom. Any other way of controlling the cards, it doesn't matter. Suit yourself, whatever your favorite moves may be. Now, I want them both at the top, so the way I manage that is to do an overhand shuffle, pulling off 2 together, lifting those up, and then shuffling off and throwing the pair together on top. So now, this is the first card, this is the second card. Okay, you show the aces, you talk about the negative charge. You flip over the upper card, nothing fake so far. You take it off. In this fashion, you're holding the packet of aces between third finger and thumb, first and second fingers extended, holding the chosen card. You can flash it again, put it 1 from the bottom. You can flash it yet again as you push it square. Count genuinely. It was 1 from the face. When I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards genuinely, it's now 1 from the back. In the right position for me to show that it's vanished, and that I've got nothing here but 1, 2, 3 aces. Just using the Edward Victor double push-off in order to conceal the chosen card. But to make things work out on the next move, last ace to the back. Now, almost as a casual afterthought, turn the cards face down. 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. Again, a double push-off, second from last, in jogged. And as I square up, I take a break below and a break above, like that. I cut at the break below. The cards below my thumb break now are bottom first chosen card and then an ace. Now you turn to the second spectator. What was the second spectator's card? Repel it to the top, there it is, turn it over, and as you flip it back you drop both those cards, so the next card you take off is the ace. Pretend to put the chosen card back in. In fact, you're putting the ace back in. You've only got 4 cards. You can use the Eric de la Mer count to show 4 cards as 5. Make a bit of a thing about it. And the second chosen card has vanished. End of first stage. To get them back, the 2 chosen cards are on top of the pack. I double cut 1 to the face, and then ask the spectator to cut into 4 packets, and the spectator does so. It doesn't matter. You need to keep track of them. And the spectator puts the 4 aces face up on any packet, which is a completely irrelevant free choice, so you make the most of it. Ideally, you hope that the end cards will not be the same colour. It just makes a slightly prettier picture at the very end. Suppose it's as shown. You pick up the packet, which was the top card. Double cut 2 cards to the face. Drop them on one of the centre packets, preferably one that had an ace of the same colour. Pick up what was the bottom packet. Double cut 1 card from the face to the top. Drop them on the growing packet. Last lot, double cut single card, top to bottom, drop them on top of all. And you can talk about changing the charge on the aces, the attractive aces, spreading them out. And what you've done now, surely by putting the cards where you wanted them to be put, there's no real magic involved. You've got the first chosen card between the aces on the left. You've got the second chosen card between the aces on your right. That's it. Now this is a trick in which, for an exception, I don't try to find the card finds itself. I'll show you what I mean. You like to take out some card, it doesn't matter which one, have a look and show it around, let everybody see it, and push it back, right. Okay, there's your card somewhere in the middle of the pack. Right, we'll shuffle the cards. So your card is somewhere or other in here. Now, in order to let the card find itself, it does need a bit of help, and it needs some help from you. So will you in fact tell everybody what the name of your card was?
The Ace of Hearts.
The Ace of Hearts. Now that's an easy card to remember. Will you both think of that card hard, and we'll see how it manages. Are you thinking of it?
Yes.
Doesn't seem to be making much difference. No, something's moving. I can't see it from this side. Would that by any chance be the Ace of Hearts? I should. This is just a development of the ancient jumping card trick. Here's my variation on the jumping card fake. The old one, remember, used to be a piece of elastic band cut and then stapled to a couple of cards. I wanted to make it as flat as possible. I don't know if you can see. What I've done is to cut two holes here with tabs. I cut the holes first. And in fact, when I first cut the tabs, I cut them, about so much, about twice their present length. Then I split them very carefully, and the extra length gave room for mistakes. Peeled them right back, and then I took a length of this rubber. And I'm not quite sure what you call it over here in the States. My original rubber came from the elasticated top of an old pair of socks I had. But it worked. You cut about 2 inches. You split the tabs, as I said, and I used rubber cement to glue the rubber in from one to the other. You see, the tabs are mirror images of each other, so that when the cards are both facing in the same way, one has the tab on the right, one has the tab on the back. And with rubber cement or whatever more modern adhesive you find is more suitable, you glue this in so that it can lie within the gap that you've held. And in that way, you can produce a fake which really lies very close. It can be in the pack, and it doesn't bulge the pack out. Now, I must say, this was the fake that I produced 30 years ago, and technology has improved since then. And Gary here has produced a lovely fake, which I want him to get to make some of them for me, which is better than mine. But this is the one that's in the book. This works. So that's the fake. For the routine, the way I like to do it now, again, very slightly different than the book. Suppose I'm using an additional to an existing full pack of cards. I put 26 of the cards above and 26 of the cards below and have the fake towards me. That's the starting position. In that position, you can spread the cards. It doesn't show up. You can fan the cards and so on. Ready to go, I cut the cards a wee bit below and hold the break. And I fan the cards and have somebody choose. If they chose a card from above the break, then I run one more card before they put it back. If they choose a card from below the break, then it's put back at the break. Either way, it is now exactly 26 from the fake. At this point, I usually put in a false overhand shuffle of some kind. But finally, I cut so that the break is about 13 or so from the bottom of the pack. And I do an out-weave shuffle. It doesn't have to be exact all the way, but if it's not an exact cut, you need to make the end corrections that I talked about in the weave book. So in this case, I cut one card too little with the right hand. I got more on the left hand, so I've woven so there are two cards from the right hand packet above and one card below. Push them in. Now the chosen card will try to come out at the rear end, which is hidden. So you can interrupt, fan the cards in one hand as you pause and chat. When you're ready to go, square up and turn end for end, and you spread the cards in your hand in a very deliberate fashion into a fan. And this is the way I do it. I've got my third finger behind. My third and little finger can grip the cards quite tightly between them. My thumb and first finger can grip the cards quite tightly between them. Relax a bit and let the card begin to rise. That was too quick. That shows what happens if you're being careless. But as it rises, now by controlling the pressure between either your third and little fingers on the left-hand side to make it tilt to the left, or your thumb and first fingers on the right to make it tilt on the right, you can make it rise evenly. If it gets violently out of control, you can always put a finger on the top. It doesn't look as though you're helping it to rise, but it allows you to keep it steady. And it's quite an eerie effect if you turn the fan packet sideways as it's rising, and they can see the very edge going up as it rises. That basically is it. To finish off, what I like to do, I notice where the fake is. I take the card out, I tilt it, to me, left-hand side, right hand down, right-hand side up. That way it's less likely to drag the rubber band out with it. And I turn it over and I put it back in the fan, in fact one card up, so that it's now hiding the fake and I can separate and everything looks very clean. If I want to be extra cunning, I take this off, place my thumb firmly over the fake, show the card there. The fake is here, but at that angle it's hidden. You can put it back, and if you really want to be shot from it, you can riffle 3 cards, palm card and fake off, and just as a sort of extra flourish, go to your pocket, produce the chosen card from your pocket, leaving the gimmicks behind, and throw it on the table, and that's it. the Faro shuffle, I got interested in. It was one of the things that I started working on. Again, when I was doing my military service and I was posted to Austria, and I took with me one card book, which was Expert Card Technique, and there was the chapter on the Faro in Expert Card Technique. And I started trying to do it, and eventually I started getting a certain distance. My first efforts at doing the Faro were really based on instructions for doing a giant fan. So in my early days of doing the Faro, I would solemnly split the pack, hold it up in front of the audience, tap, tap, and do it right up in the air like that. But as a result of that, and as I think from most illustrations in books on how to do it that way, I'd always weaved the cards from the face up to the back. Now, a different habit has developed in the States, and I think one of the reasons is that most American cards, when they first come out of the packet, have a curve like that. And it's always easier to do the Faro away from that curve. If I've got American cards, even if they start with that curve, I find that very shortly they develop the curve in the opposite direction, because that's the direction that you automatically put a curve in every time you're doing a riffle shuffle. So I started doing the Faro in the hands like that, using my little finger as a table in order to get the correct registration between the two separate packets. And whatever method you use, it's just a matter of how much you practice that particular method. I don't think one method is easier or harder or better or worse than the other. It's what you're used to. But that's how I've always done it, and it works for me, so I have no reason for changing my method. Other advantages is that I think normally you're more often holding the pack in this sort of a position when you're idly holding cards. It's the position that you find your hands in when you finish doing an overhand shuffle. And an overhand shuffle can be combined with the Faro very naturally to emphasize that you're not doing something that is terribly pre-planned and accurate. You can do the overhand shuffle and then go straight into the Faro. Over the years, I tried various ways of making it appear more casual, one being a conscious effort to learn to do it without having to tap the packets together before I wove them. Having been away from magic for a long time, I find that I'm not so good at that as I used to be, but it's beginning to come back. Right, I'm going to try a mind-reading experiment. You know what an experiment implies. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but will you start by making sure that the cards are well shuffled together? It doesn't matter what sort of state they're in. Shuffle them yourself, any way you like. And then I'm going to have a card thought of and try to find it. That's the exciting plot of this trick. But you're satisfied that the cards are okay. Right, and perhaps he had the privilege of shuffling the cards. Perhaps you'd like to do the labour of... No, don't take anything out. I want to be this just in the mind. Okay. So will you think of any one of those cards? You can change your mind if you like, but when you've finally fixed on one, remember what it is. Okay. And you've got it? Right. Now, will you think of that, please? Now, there'll be a pause for mental effort. I'm thinking, and I hope you're thinking too. I'm getting a sort of impression. I think the funny thing is, I've got no idea what your card is, but I've got a sort of feeling in my fingertips as though my fingers knew what your card was, even though I don't know. I think, in fact, it might be a good idea, and in order to stop my conscious mind interfering with what my fingers know, I'll put the cards behind my back and see if I can find it with my fingertips. I'll turn one card over in the pack, because I don't know what card it is that I've turned over. I'll take a chance. What was the card you thought of?
The King of Clubs.
The King of Clubs. And well, I get lucky now and then. One card turned over, and it's the King of Clubs. Right. Now this needs no setup. You ask the cards to be shuffled, and the purpose here, you do want to get across to the spectators that this is, in fact, an ordinary pack of cards. So they shuffle, and they hand them back to you, and during the conversation, when they've handed them back and you're asking, are they quite sure that they're shuffled, you want to get the pack face down with the card reversed on the bottom. So what I do is simply this move, exposing it, passing the cards from right hand to left, and turning them over on top. So now, this is the state of affairs. Now, I want a card to be thought of. I don't make any particular excuse about not showing them the whole pack. I just fan out some cards into a reasonably good fan and ask for somebody to think of one of those cards. For an example, will you think of one of them? It doesn't matter. And in the meantime, these cards, your hand naturally drops to your side and turns over. Okay, a card has been thought of. These cards go back underneath, and you're ready to go into whatever your own presentation of the mental efforts of reading minds may be. I've got a nice break here between the truly face-down cards and this great big bank of face-up cards hidden by the card I reversed. I cut the cards there, and I weave this lot near my side, this side of the pack, and I'll explain the reason for that but a wee bit later. Push them in to about there, and then, plunger principle, just slide the whole lot down so they come out at the near end. So there's no sort of effort or diagonal business of this. It's quite easy to do, and your left hand, your left palm, is covering the projection. And then I talk about how I can't find the cards with my hands, but I think I might find them with my fingertips. So this is where I put the cards behind my back so that my mind doesn't interfere with my fingertips. And what happens behind my back is this. I push these cards in, turning them. My right forefinger pushes against the side so that they've gone in a bit diagonally. Then I square them up at the end that is nearest to my body. Then I turn round the card which I turned round under cover at the very beginning of the trick. Now I turn the cards end for end, not over, but just end for end, and then I do a pressure fan. Now I'm ready. End result, plain cards showing on this side, the cards, the bank from which the card might have been thought of, on the other side. But they don't see the other side. And you ask what the card was.
King of Hearts.
King of Hearts. And now I can see it, and I simply separate the pack at that place. I can see all the other cards which are turned round, but they don't see them. End of trick. Now, the problem in this trick is what you do next. And 9 times out of 10, I do nothing next. I do it as a single card trick among others. I wouldn't follow it with other card tricks. There are 2 problems with following on. One is that you've got a deck which is boxed, half up, half face down. And the other is, I'm not a strong presenter, but that is a strong effect. And in the hands of a strong presenter, can you follow it anyway? So this is what I've been thinking of lately. I can't follow it with a trick that I do myself, but I've been talking about finding cards by touch behind my back. So this is the kind of thing that I'd like to go into. And now I'll pretend that I've just finished the trick and that I'm carrying on. You know, it's funny, sometimes your fingers can do things that your mind can't do. You might have that ability yourself without doing. Do you mind if I try an experiment? I'll take some red cards and some black cards. I think that should be enough. And let's see, I think that'll do. Now, you've seen this trick before, but this is under a different guise. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put two cards down. I know what they are, you don't. I want you to think red. Tap these two cards with your fingers like that, thinking red, 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 red. And you decide when to stop. There, okay. But not on that one. Okay. Would you like to try this as well?
Certainly.
Just tap them and think red, and stop when you think you might have a red. Don't try to make a conscious decision. You think this one?
Yes.
It's the fingertips rather than anything else. You can have another go. Just tap red, 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 red. That one. Okay. And one more from you. That one? Not this one?
No.
Right. Well, the ones that you haven't taken, have a look at those and see how you've done. But by transferring it to a success of theirs instead of a success of yours, I think you've got something that could be a follow-up. And also, you can now bring a different pack out of your pocket. Now, if when you originally did the Brainweave weave, you wove the smaller packet towards the face of the cards, or where the faces should have been, then when you come to the end of the trick, you'll find that at the face you've got quite a bank of cards which are all the same way. If you hold them up towards yourself and go through them, you can see the first reversed card before the spectators see it. And so, now you want to take out, say, 6 black and 5 red, or 6 red and 5 black. And if there are only 3 or 4 black left, 6 hearts and 5 diamonds, or even if you can't do that, 6 courts and 5 spots. Something that you can make something out of separating. I've been lucky, I can do here 1, 2, 3, 4, those are black. Well, not necessarily 6 and 5, 5 and 4 will do. I'll do that because it's a bit quicker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the rest of the pack you can drop in your pocket. True state of affairs. 5 red on 4 black. You put out the first 2 cards and you ask them to test with their fingertips. Red, 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 red. Or as it might be, heart, 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 or court, 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 court. As the mood takes you. So they choose one. It doesn't matter which they choose, you drop the rest of your packet onto the reject. And then you do a bottom deal and offer them the reject again. And you repeat that. They might choose this one. Bottom deal, ordinary deal. They might choose this one. Each time you try and keep as much attention as possible on the cards over here and away from your hands, though the bottom deal can be done very innocently under those conditions. They choose that one. The last one, you pick up the rejected card and put it on top of the remaining cards in your hand. So now you can turn over and say, well, the cards that I've got left are all 4 black. Would you like to look at the cards that you selected? And they turn over, and they had no chance for it to be anything else but 4 reds. And it makes a follow-up which follows the same sort of plot as Brainweave, of finding cards by touch, and the spectator does it, which makes something that can be a follow-up where you yourself couldn't have followed your own trick. The spectator can. That's it. The mathematics of the Faro, which were described in expert card technique, irritated me because they really were so elementary. They're sort of based on the idea if there are more cards in the pack, it must need more shuffles to bring it back, which is true in a very general but not in a particular case. And it could be taken so much further than that. Now, I'm not an expert mathematician, but I know the rudiments, and I'm not scared of mathematics. And I think most people stop mathematics long before their ability has run out, because there is a general sort of phobia about mathematics. So I was able to work out the formulae, which I published in the Pentagram, for how many shuffles were necessary for controlling a particular pack. And some things become fairly obvious. For example, that if you've got a card in the top half of the pack and you want to get to the effect of the Faro of bringing it to the correct Faro position from the top of the pack, double less one or whatever it may be, what happens to the rest of the cards doesn't matter. Which cards go in between the cards between the card you're controlling and the top don't matter. So you can cut wildly. You don't have to position the two packets regularly. You can just weave them together, and provided the weave is correct between the original top and the card that you're trying to control, that's all that matters. And then you can just cut off the extra cards that you accidentally put on the top afterwards. And ideas of that sort, which in my notes I used to refer to as doing an outshuffle from the top, meaning that you control the position of the card from the top, or an outshuffle from the bottom, controlling how far it was from the bottom, but doesn't matter which the cards were between the card you were controlling in the bottom or the card you were controlling in the top. Didn't matter which those cards were, provided there were the right number of them. And taking that idea a bit further, went on to the Faro corrections, which I developed, when it really did matter which cards went in between which. If, for example, you had a fully stacked pack, and you were wanting to move the stack on to its correct arrangement that it would achieve after 1, 2, 3 shuffles. So I worked those out, and they saved so much time and effort, because otherwise I found that it's almost impossible to make a shuffle look casual if you cut, weave, unweave, go back, recut, up, and so on and so forth. That a shuffle, the whole idea of a shuffle is to be something that's a casual mix of the cards. Just because you have a neat sole, you might want to make it look reasonably neat. But you wouldn't go to a great effort of cutting and recutting and recutting. So the various corrections helped in that way. And quite a lot of the tricks that I do, like my handling for the placement of the card in the rising card, the interweaving of the cards and the subsequent control in Brainweave and so on, are based on my own handling of the Faro shuffle as I do it. And people who use the more conventional American method, I'm afraid, have to adapt. But we all adapt moves to suit ourselves, so why not? The aces. Ace of clubs, ace of hearts, ace of spades, ace of diamonds, and a few cards on each of them. We'll deal with the ace of clubs first. There's the ace of clubs. And the ace of clubs fades away. Just 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. The ace of hearts. I'm going to turn the ace of hearts over. And put it among the others. So there it is. Hasn't gone yet. Gone. 1, 2, 3, 4. The ace of spades. I'll turn this one round as well, but in a different way. There it is. We turn it round. Gone. Just 4 cards. And the ace of diamonds. Now that king of diamonds is a very peculiar card because it'll work like a paintbrush. All gone. Now it's no use working with a pack which is short 4 aces. They vanished into thin air, which is all this stuff around us up here, and I've got to give them back somehow. Now the funny thing is that the aces are attracted by shuffling, so if I shuffle, actually, this is the shuffle they really like because it allows them sufficient freedom to go back into their own places. I'll tell you what I mean by their own places. Ace of clubs, A, C, E, ace, O, F, of, C, L, U, B, S, ace of clubs. Ace of hearts, A, C, E, O, F, H, E, A, R, T, S, ace of hearts. Ace of spades, A, C, E, O, F, S, P, A, D, E, S, ace of spades. Ace of diamonds, A, C, E, O, F, D, I, A, M, O, N, D, S. Ace of diamonds just did it. So all you need for this trick is 4 aces, and a pack that'll do a reasonably good Faro shuffle for the climax. So you put out the aces and standard chased order, clubs, hearts, spades, diamonds, and 4 cards as 3 for each ace. But don't make a thing about it. This, in fact, I think it was Cy Enfield I first saw doing this, that he'd just casually take off some cards, 1, and then push off 2 together, not trying to keep them in register, take them 3, put them down, 1, 2, 3. People aren't counting the cards, they're counting the rhythm. Now we're ready to go. If you like, you can pick these up and put them on the faces of the packets to start with. Sometimes I do that. Ace of clubs. All of these you spread from the back, just pulling the cards out from the back so that you retain a double as the very face card. Ace of clubs, I vanish in the simplest way. Take the double, put it at the back, blow, and a 5 as 4 count. 1, 2, push off 2 as 1, 3, 4, gone. And now onto the table, face down, 1, 2, push off 2 together, and when you take them, you can sort of lock them between your palm and the fingers, which may help in putting them down. But you don't want to make too much of a thing of it. And then drop the last card on in such a way that, if anything, it spreads that card away from you and covers the gap towards you. First card dealt with. Ace of Hearts, in fact, rather involved movements, but they flow together. Again, I got the double at the face. I flip it over, take off the single, turn this hand over, riffle 2 cards, and place it truly in the middle. 2 cards above, 2 cards below, and push it in. Square, and now count in a staggered fashion into the hand. Now you're not doing the double push off here. You take 1, 1, and you take 1 here, so it's the last that is the double. You can lock it with your little finger, and you can then push this forward a bit in case there's any problem. Take it out, and then when you come back here again, you can push those 2 forward. Now you're clean. The card has vanished, and the same moves as before. 1, 2, double, 4. Ace of Spades, old move. You put it 1 from the back. That means that because the Ace of Spades is itself a double, the Ace of Spades individually is in the center. Turn it over and do the standard move, pushing the ace back as you pull the other forward. Forefinger of the left hand in the middle there, and now you don't have to have the thumb out here as well. The forefinger's friction by itself will be enough to let it turn around, which looks reasonably effective. Show it, push it in, and it's in the right position for the count. 1, 2, 3, 4. The last one, what I've been doing lately, if I've got spectators close up around me, I take off the double and ask one of the spectators to pull out one of these cards. Suppose they take the 2 of diamonds. Ace of diamonds goes back a wee bit down from the others. Take the card that's been chosen. Turn it over. Push the ace forwards, but leaving the card beneath it, behind. And the thumb comes down and registers it with the face down card. Now you're ready to do the paintbrush change. Pull right back so that you've got 1 face down card above the ace of diamonds. You've also got 1 hidden face up card below the ace of diamonds, and you're holding them both together in the right hand. Take it back for a moment, forward again, and leave the face up card there. It's vanished. Show the card in the right hand, and then once more you can count and show. Now, actual position, 2 ace, 4 ace, 4 ace, 4 ace. In other words, each ace is plumb in the middle of its own packet, back on the top of the pack. Now, what you'd have to do is an overhand shuffle, which I devised after reading Di Vernon's, I think it was the $25 manuscript that had his poker deal, and that was the first time I'd met this idea of stacking cards by doing single runs. And I tried to explore what this could accomplish. And what I came up with was this formula 5657, which is not that difficult to remember if you think of it as a telephone number. I need to run 5, I need to run 6, 5, 7. The cards have vanished into thin air, which is this stuff up there, but the aces are attracted by the shuffling of the cards. 5, 6, 5, 7. Now, 1 in shuffle, and the cards should be stacked correctly. A, C, E, O, F, C, L, U, B, S, and the card should be the one after the spell. A, C, E, O, F, H, E, A, R, T, S, Ace of Hearts. A, C, E, O, F, S, B, A, D, E, S. When doing it, in fact, I do it more slowly. I like to announce the name of the card before spelling it to make it clearer. Magicians take the idea of spelling the names of cards for granted. It's a bit of a novelty for laymen. So I would normally say for laymen, Ace of Diamonds, ACEOFDIAMONDS. And you have, in fact, gone through the entire pack, so why not make a bit of a thing of it? Say, only just did it. Here's a little trick. It's not one of the great world illusions, but it might illuse you. I've got a joker and I've got 4 ladies. The joker is not important. The joker acts just as a supporter. It's the ladies themselves who are important. And you'll have heard of the floating lady illusion on the stages. But have you ever heard of the floating ladies? Where not one, but many ladies float up into the air together, rise up, and then, because they can think of nothing better to do, they go down again. And that's all there is to it. Joker and 4 ladies. This is a very old principle. I don't know how many people have invented this trick in different forms in the past. I believe Lloyd Jones put out a version. Gino Minari was playing with a version. This is my version. I got 4 queens, and I got 2 jokers, one of which has a large hole in it, and a little bit of wax to keep it on the back of a genuine full joker. That's all you need. And to begin with, I'd like to have the joker on the face. That way I can fan the cards face down, spreading them pretty well. Show the faces, count the double joker and the queens onto the joker. And there are lots of handlings that might be different in detail. How I'm doing it at the moment, generally, is to hold the cards squared and then squeeze the bottom card buckle, which breaks the grip of the wax. This is when I'm saying the joker is not important, it's just there as a support. So, I take the cards above the joker, twist the joker sideways, of course without showing the hole. Then I like to spread the queens a bit if I can. And this is where some practice does come in, because you need some practice to find the point of balance of the spread queens. You hold the joker, as you can see I'm holding it, like a tray. And you're just going to poke your finger through the hole and lift the queens. Up she comes. And the angles are much better than you might think, particularly if you've spread the queens in the way I've shown. It improves the angles. And you let the queens sink again. And then to clean up, I like to hold the queens in this corner, take the whole packet like that, press together, and that squares the joker, the fake joker, the one with the hole in it, underneath the queens. Give a bit of squeeze to reattach the wax, and now I can show a joker and the 4 queens. That's all there is to it. I'd like to try some more mind reading this time. I'll explain beforehand what I want you to do, because while you're doing it I shall turn away. So if you get it wrong, I won't know what's going on. But the idea, I'm going to give each of you some cards, but while my back's turned, I want you to look through and think of a card, and when you've got a card which you think you like, separate the cards, hold the card that you're thinking of next to your heart, and put the rest of your packet down on the table beside you. So yours beside you, yours beside you. Get the idea? Okay. Right. So if I give you some of the cards, let's separate these a bit more. I think this will probably be near enough. It doesn't matter exactly. Shuffle your cards to begin with. You've done that, and fan the cards in front of you and think of a card which with a bit of luck you'll be able to remember. Hold it to your heart and put the rest of your packet in front of yourself. You've done that?
Done.
Right, Jean,
Yes.
Will you put the cards that you're holding against your heart on top of Steve's packet on the table?
Okay.
And Steve, the cards that you're holding against your heart, will you put them on top of Jean's packet on the table?
Done.
Right. And Jean, will you drop the whole of the packet that is now in front of you on top of the ones in front of Steve? And square up. Okay. Now, the idea of this trick is I'm going to try to find your cards by touch, putting the cards in my pocket and feeling for them. But with the whole pack in my pocket, it does get a bit clumsy, so I am going to divide the pack into smaller packets. It doesn't matter exactly. In fact, that'll do, as they say on the quality courses. There. Right. You tell me, is either of your cards in that packet?
Not mine.
Not?
No.
No, none. Because these packets are much more manageable than trying to deal with the whole pack inside my pocket.
No, not mine.
Not yours.
Not mine.
Not yours?
Mine is-
But you have got yours. Right. So we can put those away.
Still not there.
Still not. So unless an untoward miracle has occurred,
We must be here.
we hope
Indeed
with a
it
bit
is
of
there.
luck. Okay. Now will you think of your cards, please? And I think I've got them. What was your card?
The 9 of spades.
The 9 of spades. And Jean?
King of diamonds.
The King of Diamonds.
Yes.
This trick does need a little bit of preparation. You need 50 cards, not 52, so you get rid of 2 somewhere beforehand. And for ease of performance, I like beforehand to establish what is the middle card, the 25th card. You can find it during the course of the trick, because you start by explaining what you want people to do by looking through and thinking of a card, and you could at that point count off 25. But it's more secure to know beforehand what the card is, and then you can separate at this point. I've looked before I started my explanation, and the 25th card was the 3 of diamonds, so I simply cut there and explained that I want them to hold the card against their heart, put the rest down on the table. This is not exactly as in the L&L book, and I changed it a bit for 2 reasons. One was simply that I thought it was a good presentation. Another was that it allowed you to give the impression that or emphasize the impression that they were thinking of a card, whereas in the original explanation, I think they just shuffled the cards and cut, which was more of a physical method of choosing. Thinking of a card allows you to put it over more strongly. It also gives you the cover for cutting the pack into 2 packets, each of exactly 25, which is a necessary part of the way it works. So I've done that by looking at this. I've established I've got 25 cards there, 25 cards here. I can put them back, keep a bit of a break, just fumble for a bit, and then offer you some of the cards and offer you some of the cards. And each of you can now shuffle. So you shuffle and you go through what I described. You look through and you think of a card. And if you do, in fact, you're more likely do that as I described, you're more likely to think of a card somewhere around the middle, which on the whole provides a better trick. It works more smoothly. And then, I think for the sake of explanation, I won't call you Jean and Steve, I'll call you Mr. Right and Mr. Left. Mr. Right, will you put your cards on top of Mr. Left's? Mr. Left, will you put your cards on top of Mr. Right? Mr. Right, will you put your total pack on top of Mr. Left's? And square them up. Now we come back. I have been turned round. I return to look at the pack and pick it up. And I talk about the fact that I'm going to find the cards by putting the pack in my pocket and feeling for them, but having a whole pack in my pocket is clumsy. So while I'm talking of that, I start dealing into 5 packets. And I deal casually and I start speeding up the deal. And after 5 cards, 5 rounds have been dealt, then I push off in 5s, keeping the order within the 5, but making it look as though it was casual. There are, in fact, 5 at the last packet. Oops, nearly dropped them, but that's okay. Now, did you actually go through the motions of thinking cards there, or did you actually remember cards? You did, good. It helps. So, this to me is packet number 1. Is either of your cards there? No. I like to leave the packets in their position along the edge of the table. It helps my aging memory.
No.
No, no.
No.
No?
Yes.
Yes. So if Mr. Right says yes, I put them in my right pocket, facing always to the left, whether it's your cards or your cards, always facing to the left. Your cards.
My card is here.
Your card is there. So he saw his card in packet number 3, you saw your card in packet number 4. You are Mr. Left, your cards go on the left. We changed the numbers round. There were 3 and 4, but yours will be in fact 3rd, and yours will be 4th. And I count from the outside in each packet. So Mr. Right's card is 4 from the outside on my right pocket. Mr. Left's card is 3 from the outside in my left pocket. And what was your card?
The 5 of hearts.
The 5 of hearts. And yours was the?
King of spades.
The King of
Yes.
Spades. Now, it sometimes happens that you show a packet and both of the spectators will see their cards in the same packet. There's no problem. You simply separate 5 and 5, and the packet in your right hand you put in your right pocket, facing to the left. The packet in your left hand you put into your left pocket, and you carry on just as before. It was packet number 3, so you count 3 from the outside in each pocket, and in that case the cards would have been 10 of spades and 8 of hearts. It works with no change.